I've got 40 years of them. If I picked probably the biggest error, or one of the biggest errors I made along the way was being enticed in 98, 99 to take in for outside investors.
Hmm.
And it took a year after their money arrived. I mean, money came as promised,
Hmm.
but it took a year for me to finally come to the realization that the people who had invested in my business, and I mean, it's not like they hid anything, but they had no understanding of how to run our business.
Hmm.
And yet they now held seats on our board. They held voting shares. They were not a majority. We had insisted on not giving up a majority share. But even so, they had tremendous influence.
Hmm.
And their message was grow at any cost.
Hmm.
This was terrible advice in the year 2000.
Hmm.
And it took me 6 years to buy them out of the business.
Hmm.
And I would count those 6 years from an entrepreneur perspective. I mean,
Hmm.
Time Control did fine, and the business did okay, but I would count those 6 years as the worst years of my career at HMS.
Yeah.
So I mean, from that perspective, that is certainly an error. And we've made project errors, and we've had other kinds of errors where we tried something and it simply didn't take off, and we looked back and corrected our perspective, corrected our view. But the largest one was probably that investor error. And it has made me, I mean, I freely talk about it with people who call to ask to invest in the business. I say, yeah, I've had a bad experience and I'm uneager to repeat it. So they get that. I'm not the only entrepreneur to have had people in the business whose money was fine, but their advice was not. So